Someone asked me to make a video showing them how to remove a brake disc from a motorcycle. So I pulled the front wheel off of a 2009 Kawasaki KLR 650, and I'm going to be using that to demonstrate how to remove this brake disc and then how to reinstall it. Hopefully you know how to remove the wheel, because I didn't film that. If you've made a request for a video, I always try and do them, but I don't always have the equipment, and sometimes it just takes me a while, so just keep watching. This is your brake disc. This is your wheel hub. The brake disc is attached to the wheel hub using these 9 bolts here. Each of these bolts uses a 6mm hex bit socket to remove them or install them. Tools I'm going to be using is this 3/8" Craftsman ratchet, Stanley 6mm hex bit socket. To tighten them down, I'm going to be using a Craftsman torque wrench. I'm going to be using the foot-pounds, 20 foot-pounds to tighten them. You want to apply a non-permanent thread locker to each bolt, so I'm going to be using the blue Loctite or blue Permatex here. And then just to speed up removing the bolts, I'm going to be using this Bosch impact driver. So to remove the disc, just take your socket and your ratchet and remove each of these bolts. And then once you have all the bolts removed, you can remove the brake disc. Before you go ahead and reinstall either your old brake disc or a new one, make sure that the hub is clean. Make sure you wipe the brake disc, make sure that's clean. And it's also real important to clean off the threads on the bolt. Make sure that they're clean. And then take your brake disc. There's going to be a marking on it with the thickness of the disc, which is right there, 4.5mm. This should be facing out, so make sure that that's facing out when you reinstall the disc. Next, you're going to want to take one of your bolts, take your thread locker, apply thread locker to the bolt. You want to do this to each one and then install the bolt. And do that to each one. Alright, so now I've reinstalled all the bolts. I've got them hand tightened. I've put Loctite on the bolts. I've cleaned everything. I've got the thickness markings on the disc facing outward. So now I'm ready to tighten everything down. When I tighten the bolts down on this disc, I want to do it in steps. I'm going to do it in 2 steps, and I'm going to be using a cross pattern to tighten the bolts down, just so I get everything evenly tightened. So first step, I'm going to be using a ratchet and socket, and then the last step I'll be using the torque wrench. Alright, now I'm ready to hit him with the torque wrench. Got the torque wrench calibrated to, it's set to 20 foot-pounds. So I'm going to do the same thing, the cross pattern, and I'm going to tighten each bolt to 20 foot-pounds. And then everything should be tightened correctly. You can take your torque wrench again and hit each bolt just to make sure that they're all tightened. I don't always like to do that because you can over tighten a bolt, but when you're dealing with this many bolts and you're doing it in that cross pattern, it can get confusing and sometimes you can miss a bolt, so it's better to make sure that they're all tightened than to leave one loose. The next thing I'm going to do is cover up the wheel hub, just so no brake fluid gets into the bearings, and I'm going to spray around the disc just to clean up any grease or dirt that I may have gotten on the disc by working with it. And that is how you remove and install a brake disc on a 2009 Kawasaki KLR 650. If you got any questions, leave them in the comments section and I'll do my best to answer them. And thanks for watching.